Alright, I pretty much wrapped up offensive operations. Now it's time to go into defensive operations. Probably going to take a while to explain that to you armchair generals and people that don't know about military conflicts, wars, battles, etc. Death. Defensive operations are like offensive. You want as much intel as you can, is what you're facing. Oh, something's on the screen. It's on my hand. But you want to gather as much intel as the enemy army is building up at his jump-off points. And where you think he's going to go from his jump-off points. I guess I should start with, like I said, the intel. Topography plays a big factor. You can use the land to your advantage on defense. You know, if there's mountain passes, you can force the enemy offense army groups to have to use those mountain passes and hammer them as they enter them, or let them get halfway through the column, then knock out the first vehicles and the last vehicles and trap them in the pass. So defensive operations involve intel, topography. Usually standard rule, it takes one defender for every 3 offenders. Basically, for every 3 attacking military men in the army group, you need 1 military man, troop, in an army group to defend. But I like to round up, so I say 2. So, you know, general rule is if there's 10 attacking men on an offensive operation on a tactical basis, you at least need 3 to defend a spot. But like I said, I like to round up at 2, and that puts it up at 6. Or you can do 1.5 and it puts it at 5. I round up everything to the... If I owe money, I round up more than I owe. If I got money, I round down less than what I got. That's just how I think. But defense operations are just as important as offensive operations. And like I said, you don't require as many resources, and you can use the land and topography of the area to your advantage. If you've got accurate intel, someone's getting ready, an army group's getting ready to take an offensive operation against your country or whatever, you want to immediately move all civilians, women and children, back so they're not hurt. You know, you evac them, even if they have to force walk and march. All men aged 16 to 50, 16 to 60, 16 to 80, 14 to 80, you conscript. And the ones that you think can fight, you try to train them fast to fight. The other ones, you start building defensive fortifications, such as trenches, earthworks. If you got the resources, hardened concrete, strong pillboxes. Like I said, bunkers for air raids. You get the civilian men working on the defensive line, and usually you want your defense echelon in depth. The smaller the width, the easier it is to defend. The longer the width, you're kind of strung out. And a rule of thumb is you want one man for every one click, which puts 2 men for every mile, so to speak. You want your anti-aircraft staggered, camouflaged, echelon, and hid, so when the airstrikes, the offensive combatants come in, you can take out their planes. I'm just starting defense operations. I'm not going to get really into depth too much. But defense operations are very important. They can repel army groups and protect your country and win wars. Anytime, no matter what kind of defensive operation you're conducting, you're attacked, you automatically, you have that operational reserve unit held by the HQ, same as offense. And if the offense attacks and you need to stem a gap they've created, you stem it with that operational reserve unit, and then you immediately counterattack. That is number one rule. If you're attacked in an area, you move your mobile offensive reserves there, stem and plug the gap, and then immediately counterattack in the same area. There's a lot of defensive operations. Some are similar to offense. You need to have ammunition and food, whatnot, stockpiled for an indeterminate amount of time, and stockpile where they can't be destroyed, usually meaning underground, hidden. And you want lateral lines of your defensive front connected with intersecting lines, 90-degree lines, to move your supplies to your defending troops. That's just a linear defense. Linear means, one line. If you're a country on the defense, you want that linear defense to pretty much be at the boundary of your country. And then you have a fallback line if you're starting to lose that first line defense. You do a fighting withdrawal, and you have a fallback line. You might have 5 fallback lines, it just depends. But defense operations are involved with intel, is what offense you're facing, how many army groups, what they got. Topography, which your land better than the offense, so you want to try to force the battles where the topography suits you and helps you. And weather, your weather better than the enemy, and you want to kind of force a stalemate until the weather suits your defense and what your people are accustomed to, and then do limited attacks on the offense army group with limited objectives, not really even meant to hold anything, just to do some damage, eliminate some troops, and maybe create a forward FOB, forward observation base, garrison, and still keep your linear defense intact, but you've gained a little ground, and you have one forward garrison at that point, or if multiple forward garrisons you can do, and that changes the whole offensive operation completely. I'll get more depth into defense operations. It'll probably take several blogs discuss defense operations before I ever get down to a tactical level. But as with offensive operations, defensive operations go down to a tactical level, and you want everybody from your general at the HQ to your lieutenant leading the 16 to 20 man platoon to the NCO leading the 6-man fire squad, knowing what they're doing, why they're doing it, and they need to know they need to move on a moment's notice. Right? A movement, freedom of movement is a big thing in defensive operations. Elasticity and flexibility is also. You might want an elastic defense means you don't want to hold a linear line. You might let the offense actually put a bulge in your defensive line, but like I said, elasticity saves troops, resources, manpower, flexibility, freedom of movement. All that saves your men, saves your resources, saves your manpower. Defense operations are very important. And like I said, it takes less resources to conduct defensive operations if conducted right. Some incorrect defense operations are employed in Iraq. Better defense operations are employed in Afghanistan because we trained those guys in the 80s to fight the Russians. They know their topography, they know their country, they know their climate, and they know when to hit and run and then go hide in the mountains. So defense operations require everything offensive do, but with less manpower. As much resources as you can gather is good. I mean, you want as much armored tanks, artillery, air support, anti-air weapons. You know, you want as much of that as possible, but you can get by with less manpower on a defensive operation. I guess the last defensive operation we were involved in was probably World War I. So that was trench warfare, static linear defense, and there was a lot of deaths, and it took a long time to finally end that war. And weapons at the time were totally not up to par compared to World War II. But that was the last time this nation took part in defense operations. We'll wrap up defense operations there. I'll talk more in depth about it in my next video blog. Sunday. It's been cool all weekend for Independence Day. Hope you guys had a good one and celebrated and took a moment of silence for everybody that died. For you to live a nice life here in America. You know, a lot of people, me myself, I gave up a career when I felt the patriotic calling. When I got recruited by the DoD and NSA, I left a career and went and served our country in combat and then in classified Arab countries, and then even in Antarctica. So I think I've given back to the nice things I got in this country growing up. My parents provided me, lived on a golf course, had a nice house, had every toy I wanted, had a car in high school, good education, public and private. This country offered me a lot. I felt when I was recruited I could leave a career and give back to it. And that's when I really started learning about military and war. And war is not just shooting a gun or shooting a tank barrel or driving a tank or commanding a tank or shooting an artillery piece or shooting a surface-to-air missile. War involves a whole lot more than that, than just shooting weapons. That's why you have different elements in an army. You know, you have logistics, which charge supplies, communication units, charge communications. infantry, frontline fighters, armored divisions, air support from the Air Force, air divisions, naval divisions, even cooks. Sometimes you gotta eat those MREs, which some are good. I actually like the teriyaki chicken. Every time I got that, I'd love it. And if I didn't, I'd try to trade for teriyaki chicken. But they should have put cigarettes in the MREs like they did in World War II. And flying over, I expected helicopters to be flying in Budweiser cases like in Vietnam. But when I got there, I found out it was a Muslim conflict. We had to obey Muslim laws, so we had O'Doul's and Bush NA to drink. One more day we were grilling out, and some guy figured it up. He said if we could drink a case in about 45 minutes, we might catch a buzz for about 20. I was like, dude, you probably die of hydrotoxicity. But I'm kind of getting off subject. I'll discuss more about defensive operations tomorrow. I guess I'm going to start with linear and then go from there. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. Hope you don't have too bad of a hangover. And enjoy your Sunday. And enjoy the rest of your holiday weekend. Signing off.